Welcome back to another review. I hope you've been enjoying them. What can I say? I'm enjoying doing them, so I'm going to keep on going from A to Z in my catalog, and I hope you enjoy. This next band, I'm excited about it, and I'll tell you why. Because of the big bands of the late 60s and early 70s, the bands that were forming the precursor to heavy metal and heavy rock, this band is always underneath, or seems to be, overshadowed by Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, and Cream. Now, as I talked before, Cream, 1966, 67, they were really pioneers, but what Cream did was they took the blues and they amped up the blues. And that was a real revolution in terms of what you could do with the blues. And of course, bands like Led Zeppelin took it and ran with it. But this band that I'm going to talk about next actually was a transition band. You had a lot of psychedelic rock in the mid to late 60s. And one band in particular, named Iron Butterfly, had a big hit called Inagata de Vida. Now, word on the street is that it was supposed to be called In the Garden of Eden, but they were so high on acid, they couldn't say In the Garden of Eden. So they called it Inagata de Vida. Anyway, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But it was a 17-long epic song with this huge organ solo in the middle of it. It just kept going. And it was a big hit. And, the organ solo, at least to that extent, was kind of new. The Beatles showed what you could do with instrumentation. But Iron Butterfly took the organ and made it a real centerpiece in that song. Iron Butterfly didn't have much else in the way of hits other than that, so far as I know, but Inagata de Vida was the big one. So the band I'm going to talk about came out before Black Sabbath, before Led Zeppelin. Their first album was 1968, I believe, and it was called Shades of Deep Purple. So who am I talking about? Of course, I'm talking about Deep Purple. Now, Deep Purple was, as I said, I can't help but think that they were influenced by some of that psychedelic rock, because you can, in Inagata de Vida by Iron Butterfly, you can hear shades of what Deep Purple was going to become. And a lot of the reason I say that is because Deep Purple, I'm going to talk about the members of Deep Purple and their unique musicianship, but Deep Purple used organ. John Lord, Jack Lord was the lead character in Hawaii Five-0 in the 70s. Anyway, John Lord was a great keyboard player, and he took the organ and he made it really a kind of a centerpiece of Deep Purple. And as I said, I think that some of that psychedelic rock played a role in that. So Deep Purple came out with their first album, Shades of Deep Purple, 1968. And they had a couple albums in between that. Of course, the big hit off Shades of Deep Purple was Hush. Hush is a great song. And immediately you can tell that this was a band that was going to be heavy. They were going to be a force to be reckoned with. And in 1969, Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin released their self-titled debut albums. And it seemed from there that Deep Purple was always kind of the second or third wheel, which they really shouldn't have been. And, forgive me if you disagree with that, but Sabbath and Zeppelin always seemed to overshadow Deep Purple. Now, the members of Deep Purple, the lead singer, Ian Gillan had a fantastic voice. It was an operatic voice. If you ever listen to some early Deep Purple records, man, the guy could sing. He was kind of similar to what Bruce Dickinson was with Iron Maiden. He had this great rock vocal, but he was able to stretch it to the upper registers, the high octaves, and he was able to hold it for a long period of time. Fantastic vocalist. Just so suited to rock and roll. Incidentally, he was the lead vocalist on the album Jesus Christ Superstar. Not the stage tour, but the record. Because Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice couldn't get the funding to make the stage show, so they decided to make a record. The record became such a hit, Jesus Christ Superstar became a stage show. But anyway, Ian Gillan played Jesus Christ in that album, and marvelous performance. But anyway, Deep Purple went on in 1972 to come up with 3 fantastic albums. The first one that I don't have, that I should have, that I listened to coming home from work today, was Deep Purple in Rock. That was, I think, their first record for me that I heard Deep Purple that they really struck a chord with me. Ian Gillan's vocals, John Lord's big, bold organ right through a lot of that album, and Ritchie Blackmore. I mean, a great guitarist. Ritchie Blackmore is a legendary guitarist. Stayed with Deep Purple for years. I mean, I don't know if he's still with them. I know Deep Purple still tours, but fantastic guitarist. And as a drummer, I can say that Ian Pace on drums, fantastic rock drummer. Was he to the level of John Bonham at the time, and maybe Ginger Baker? Maybe not Bonham, Baker certainly. I mean, Ginger Baker and John Bonham had very different styles on the kit, but Ian Pace, I mean, he was, the guy's a legend. I really enjoy listening to the drumming. So Deep Purple had all the components of a great band, a great rock band, and they were. Deep Purple in Rock was a fantastic album in 72. Then they came out with this one, probably their most popular, Machine Head. Machine Head, of course, has Smoke on the Water, Highway Star. What else does it have on it? Space Truckin'. Space Truckin's a great song. So this really kind of cemented their place in hard rock in the early 70s. And if you haven't heard Machine Head, this is where I'd start, would be Machine Head. This is a fantastic album. And then they came out in 1972, I believe it was as well. It was a live album, Deep Purple in Japan. That is one of the best live rock albums you'll ever hear. They took all the work that they did on Machine Head and Deep Purple in Rock, and they stretched the songs out even more, made them into real epics. And it's one of those albums where, yeah, it's a live album, but you know, they nailed it. You know, I mean, there's no real fuck ups on it. It's a fantastic, solid record for great live energy. And I definitely would suggest you check that out. Now, going on into the 70s, Deep Purple never really hit the stride that they did with these early albums. Ian Gillan left the band, and then you had David Coverdale of Whitesnake fame come in and sing for them. Did a good job. I think Coverdale's a great vocalist, but he's no Ian Gillan, and they never really, for me personally, never really captured that magic that they had on their early records in the early 70s. So I got to say that Deep Purple certainly holds their own in the rock and roll of the 70s. So far as I know, parts of the band are still together. There's been a lot of members come and go, but basically 68 to, I would say, probably like 74, 75 would be the prime stuff from Deep Purple. But definitely check out Machine Head. Check out Shades of Deep Purple with their first one with Hush. That's a good album. But Deep Purple and Rock, can't go wrong with that one. The other album I have is the very best of Deep Purple. This has got all their hits on it. If you want to go on Spotify, this would be a great one to listen to because it's got Child in Time is another one. Child in Time is an epic. It's like a 10-minute long song that they just click on. It's so great. And that's on Deep Purple and Rock. Child in Time, Woman from Tokyo. You probably know Woman from Tokyo. That was a little bit later in their career. Highway Star, Space Truckin', and Smoke on the Water. I mean, all great tracks. Love Deep Purple. When I'm in the mood for something heavy from the 70s, Deep Purple doesn't immediately come to mind because I usually go to Zeppelin. I usually go to the Stones, Black Sabbath, but I really shouldn't. You know, I mean, Deep Purple is, for me, my opinion, is Deep Purple as good as Zeppelin? No, but they're a great band for who they are, and they definitely deserve their place in like I said, the 70s folklore of rock music. And of course, they had that unique sound with these organ solos, from John Lord. I mean, no other bands were really doing that. They made it the centerpiece, and they did it really, really well. It was almost kind of it sounds kind of stupid, but an operatic classical heavy metal group for a short time. And it just really clicked. So Deep Purple, fantastic band. Hope you enjoyed the review. I don't know who's coming up next. I hope you're doing well. I hope you got through the snow out there okay. And yeah, we'll see you next review. Cheers.